The NFL was considering a move to give teams improved third-round draft picks by 6 or 10 spots if they hired a minority candidate for a vacant GM or head coaching opening. They were going to reward them for hiring minorities. Now, they tabled that measure, but they did approve new measures aimed at improving diversity in coach and front office hiring. They have to interview a certain number of these people, of minority people, for these spots. And this, to me, is incredibly insane. First of all, there's something like 4 minority head coaches, which is 12% of the teams. About 12% of America, I would say, is black, I think. People are saying, well, 70% of the players are minority. 70% of them are black, really, of the players. So therefore, there should be more head coaches. But that doesn't make sense. It's a business. You should be serving the audience. I could equally make the argument, well, the audience is mostly white, so the players should be white. I could make that argument if I'm going to be a racist. Now, I don't believe in any of this, just to be clear about what I'm saying. I don't believe that any racial ideas should be taken into account ever with hiring. But here's the interesting thing about this. I mean, there's a lot of interesting things about it. Suddenly, the progressives, because sports journalism is almost all left-wing. Sports journalism is all left-wing. That's why I canceled my subscription to Sports Illustrated, which I enjoyed reading, but I just couldn't stand listening to them attack guys I liked and tell me there was no God and people shouldn't be praying before games. I just couldn't stand it anymore. They're all left-wing, but they hate this. Here are people saying, these are sports writers saying rewarding teams for hiring minorities is simply disrespectful, which is just right. This is a guy from SB Nation. He says rewarding teams for hiring minorities is simply disrespectful. Assuming that bribery is necessary for the hiring of minority coaches seems to insinuate that such candidates can't get hired on their own. Will an asterisk have to be placed by every non-white hiring? Whatever happened to the best qualified individual getting the job? Suddenly, left-wingers discover that affirmative action is not just not good, it's actually bad. It actually is disrespectful to black people. It puts them in a terrible position where everything they do has an asterisk by them. This is why Judge Clarence Thomas put a 5-cent marker on his college degree, saying it was no good because everybody thought he got it, not because he was brilliant, which he is, but they thought he got it through affirmative action. There's an old saying, right? Everybody's conservative about what they know. Nobody runs their family. No leftist runs his family budget the way he thinks the government should run their budget. No, none of them does. No leftist has elite leftists don't have children out of wedlock, but they sit around and say, oh, we should be tolerant of all the different ways people want to have sex. They don't live like that. People are conservative about what they know. So suddenly, all these left-wing sports writers think this is a bad idea, which it is. And not only that, Anthony Lynn, coach of the LA Chargers, who is in fact a black guy, he doesn't like it either. Here's him talking.
I think sometimes you can do the wrong thing while trying to do the right thing, if that makes sense at all. So I think that there are a lot of qualified African-American coaches right now that could be a head coach in this league. And I just pray that we do our due diligence and give these guys an opportunity. Why did I get an opportunity? We could talk about that all day. But, I mean, trust me when I tell you, but there are some qualified applicants, and they need an opportunity. And I just think this is, out of desperation, this is something that's, that we're throwing out there. But, it is what it is. You can't make people hire, someone that they don't want to hire or for whatever reason,
That's right, too. You can't, it is. I mean, the way we have treated the problem of bigotry has lessened our freedom and hasn't helped bigotry. It makes bigotry worse. In fact, it makes bigotry worse. And here's the thing that gets me. The Democrats just had these primaries, right? There were black people, there were women, there were all these people. They wind up with 2 old white guys, Bernie and Biden. And they wind up finally, it looks like, with Biden, right? And all of those other people were selling this identity politics. And even the people who had those identities didn't like the identity politics. I mean, remember Elizabeth Warren was using some word Latinx instead of Latina and Latino. And the Latin people, the Hispanic people were saying, we don't, 2% of the people, I think, supported that. they keep saying there are 50% of women, there should be 50% women in office. No, there should be as many people in office as are voted into office because women have the vote, so they will get to vote for whoever they want. The thing is that this is an elite white sop to their own guilt feelings, the things they are doing. There are radical thinkers who are now pushing the idea that any inequality in hiring must be due to bigotry. So if there are fewer blacks in one profession than there are blacks in the community, it must be due to bigotry. If there are fewer women, never mind women sometimes stay home with their kids, never mind they make different choices because they have different lives than men do, never mind that. If there are not 50% women in some organization, that should be policed. There are people pushing seriously, this is seriously true, pushing amendments to the Constitution that would establish a fourth branch of government that would police anybody who did not hire the right percentage of people. This is how crazy they have all gone. Now, most people, no matter what color they are, or gender they are, which gender they are, they recognize that this is unfair, un-American, and bad. They recognize it, but it is a sop to elite thinkers. It's a sop to elite white people who somehow feel guilty about all this, and they want to rewrite our Constitution, rewrite our freedoms on this basis to make themselves feel better. The problem that they have with this is that the left has gotten they've gained a lot of ground using the race card. They have played the race card until the race card is basically cashed out. They have played it and played it and played it. And now they have pushed it over the point of any kind of semblance to fairness, goodness, decency, freedom, Americanism, past that into oppression. And the people don't want it. The black people don't want it. Why? Because they're Americans. Because that's why. The women don't want it. Why? Because they're American women. They want people to be free. They understand that freedom allows certain people to do bad things. It allows people to cheat on their spouses. It allows people to tell lies that they shouldn't tell. Freedom lets people be the sinful things that they are. That's not every sin is a crime. That's the way it is. And they just don't like it. The truth about race is that races are different, right? I mean, nobody thinks an Englishman and an Italian are going to be necessarily the same. Nobody thinks that a typical British guy and a typical French guy are going to be the same. Cultures are different. Maybe races are different. I don't know that for a fact, but maybe races are different, but cultures are different. People are going to be different. The only thing that we have to do is treat each person with respect and dignity like a child of God made in God's image. That's the truth. And the truth is like a mountain peak. Once you get off the truth, there's nowhere to go but down. Once you understand that you have to treat people with respect, no matter who they are, no matter what they look like, no matter where they come from, once you understand that you have to love them as a fellow child of God and made in God's image, that's all you can do. That is all you can do. That's as fair as life is going to get. And it's still going to be unfair. There's still going to be qualified coaches who are black who don't get in because maybe the guy hiring them is a bigot. But that will change over time because these things do change over time once you stop judging people by the color of their skin and by their race. Once you stop, things get better. Once you start again, even if you start judging them for their whiteness, even if you think you're going to reverse the bigotry and that's somehow going to balance it out, it just gets worse. And this is the thing. The devil does not care who does the hating as long as the hating gets done. The truth is that we have to treat each person like a child of God. And after that truth, everything is worse. This is really bad in sports. The NFL has done everything it can to ruin itself for politically correct reasons, and I do not see the point of it. It's, again, like with Elizabeth Warren, like with all the Democrat candidates, they're playing to the New York Times op-ed page, Knucklehead Row. They're not playing to the audience. The audience wants to see the best coaches. The audience wants to see the best players. They do not care what color they are. Given the fact that a lot of the audience of the NFL is white, they obviously don't care that 70% of the players are black. I don't care. I don't even think about it, right? People just want to see the best players. They're paying good money. They want to see the best America has got. They do not care about the color of their skin. The only people who care are these elite radicals trained in radical universities, and you've got to stop playing to them because they're not the audience. They're not the voting base. They're not the majority. They're just a very, very small number of people. The NFL tabled this. They ought to put it under the table, then they ought to throw the table away.